Welcome to another episode of the Greater Meeting Podcast. As always, I am your host, Andrew, alongside my two co-hosts, Nathan.
I'm Nathan.
And Josh.
Hello, everybody. That might be the actual best intro that we've done so far.
Right on time.
That's sad.
It only took us 25 episodes. 2 hours apiece.
Is this 25?
Well,
This is episode number 25, Moses,
sometimes
part 5.
you
or
have
4?
to pay a quarter for
To get on the toll.
to get out the
Josh,
if only it
you
was
just-
still a quarter.
To get on the ride, I guess. Are those pony rides still a quarter? Or are those like $1.50 now?
At the store over here by me, it's only a penny. So
You have a penny?
There's no way,
yeah,
dude.
yeah. My kids will like look at me and start asking for pennies so they can go ride the little horsey, and then I love the way
Wow.
they do it too. They just sit on the horse and then just make full eye contact with me the whole time with like a huge
While
smile.
they're riding.
But as they're slowly rocking back and forth on the horse, thinking like there's some type of cowgirl and cowboy. Either way, it's a penny.
That's amazing. I don't have that. I've never let my daughter ride that thing.
You don't let her ride the merry-go-round at the mall?
No, she's afraid.
Your daughter's afraid of a very slow-moving horse at the mall?
Mm-hmm.
She's afraid.
Your daughter's
of me
afraid of
eating her
everything.
nose.
Like, honestly. You guys raise her in fear.
She is like that naturally. It's like, okay, she's not afraid, but she's like, she's afraid. Like we're like, you want to ride the swing?
Bro, she's
No.
afraid of her old
Andrew,
like scooter or
do you
whatever.
teach the
Like,
fear
she's
of
afraid
God?
of,
I don't teach her that. I take her
God
outside.
too literally.
No, I don't.
What do y'all do
I
to
remember
that
us
girl?
as kids.
my gosh.
It's like they kept saying have a fear of God, and I could never grasp that as a child. And I was always like, I love you, God, but I'm so afraid of you. Like,
You know, as a kid, I was quite optimistically stupid, and I was never afraid of anything I was supposed to be afraid of, including fire. One time I put my finger in a barbecue pit, and then I pulled it out, and it was on fire, and I was just staring at it. And then I went, ah, ta, 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 ta.
I
And
think
then I put
that's
it
one
out.
of the signs.
Like, I was a
As a
stupid
child,
kid.
I think that's one of the signs to see if you have a stupid child.
Like, my parents had to label drink. But to be fair, my parents were also, who puts oil in a coffee mug and then tea in a coffee mug right next to each other? And I'd be like, why?
Both hot things. What are you talking about?
No. It wasn't hot oil or hot tea. It was just cold tea and then oil. And on the same counter, right?
Did you accidentally pick up the mug of oil and start sipping away?
I was trying to determine which one was which so I could put like a sign for other people because I always care about other people.
Mm.
And I totally mixed up because I couldn't tell the difference between oil or tea.
You know who else played with fire? The Israelites in worshiping a golden calf right after receiving the Ten Commandments.
Oh, yeah, we're doing the Bible podcast.
In the last episode, the Israelites met with God at the mountain. Remember that this was an encounter fulfilling the sign that God gave Moses during the burning bush in Exodus 3:12, where he said, when you bring the people out of Egypt, you will worship God on this mountain. This will be a sign that I have spoken to you. Everything happened just as God foretold. He revealed himself in an awe-inspiring display of power, appearing as a consuming fire and a cloud of lightning that shook the entire mountain of Sinai. God verbally delivered the words of the law, the 10 commandments, for all to hear audibly. The Israelites trembled in fear and requested that God intercede for them, fearing that they would be destroyed if they faced God directly. We now return to the story as Moses leaves Aaron, Nadab, Abihu, and the 70 elders behind and enter the cloud of lightning and fire. He is gone a little longer than expected, and things kind of get out of hand. Now, right where we left off at a part of the story that a lot of people don't talk about that I really like, how God revealed himself to not just Moses and Aaron, but the 70 elders that were there in the form of a being with glass underneath his feet, and they worshiped. And I'm still kind of in awe of that scene. I think it's like super, super interesting.
He had glass underneath his feet.
It was as if sapphire was glass clear beneath the feet of God.
You remember the concept that I brought up, like with that maybe God was, maybe on like some type of UFO, unidentified flying.
I do unfortunately remember that. Yes, sir.
And it's more like he's the Silver Surfer. I mean, if you really want to think about it.
Yeah, but
right?
I mean, like, what if it's like an invisible type of aircraft and he's just standing on it, and he gets out. I mean, he gets out and he's just standing on the platform, to get off, and he's just chilling there, just.
Okay.
Hey, when Magneto floats, it's like
it's just
have like a thing underneath him.
It's wild the fact that he's standing on something. Why is he standing on something?
I mean, so this concept actually is
why is it not a conception of floating? Normally, when you think of like some type of like an angel that's showing up to you, you imagine a floating angel, it like just basically flying, but not using its wings. It's interesting that a lot of angels have wings, right? A lot of angels have wings, and why? Why do angels have wings? Because they can fly using the wings. Now, there's some angels, theoretically, that are not... some angels, I guess, don't have wings. So what do they have to use to fly around?
Silver Surfer's surfboard?
Flying objects. Or silver serving
no, I mean... no. Yeah? I mean, they just appear. Like, sometimes they disappear in the cloud of smoke.
When Isaiah sees the throne room of God, he sees...
They have like 6 wings.
Yes. Or 6 rockets. No. Basically, you know how
oh my goodness
a plane has wings? Basically, on each wing has rockets. What if all he did was just go onto the mothership? I don't know. It's a little too early in the episode to really start getting.
Yeah, we're just starting UFOs. Off with God being a UFO.
I wanted to start. You guys went into the episode a little too early. I wanted to give Samsung an idea.
What?
Yeah,
Samsung, the company.
If Samsung came out with a brand, like let's say like a phone, and they called it a song, so a song, right? So Samsung a song. Say it, Samsung a song.
I'm not saying that.
That'd be such a cool thing to have.
What are you getting at? What are we talking about?
Samsung a song.
Okay, so a person named Sam
sung a song.
Okay,
I got you.
And so okay.
And
that's just really cool. Hey, what type of phone do you have? Oh, I have a Samsung a song.
Josh.
Like I said, you guys got into the episode a little too early.
Yeah, we got into the Bible story for our Bible podcast.
At our Bible podcast.
I didn't realize we were pitching Samsung new logos, dude. This is our big shot.
Dude, this is
our big shot. Hey,
you ruined our entire good intro with that whole thing right there.
Well, technically, my story of me being a dumb kid ruined that too.
We're doing great. Anyway, cutting back to the story. Pavement of clear sapphire. That was cool. Moses stays on the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights, receiving detailed instructions on the tabernacle and the priestly laws. Now, I want to take a little bit of a moment and break down how this episode is going to be laid out. We have 2 different points of view. We have Moses on the mountain with God for 40 days and 40 nights in the cloud on fire, unable to be seen by the Israelites, and then everything that's going on there. And then you have the Israelites down at the foot of the mountain, supposed to be waiting on God and being, clean, but doing their own thing. And we're going to start with the point of view from Moses. Nathan, if you can read in chapter 32, verses 16 through 18.
Chapter 32, verses 16 through 18. Whoa. Totally wasn't there. Now the tablets were the work of God, and the writing was the writing of God engraved on the tablets. And when Joshua heard the noise of the people as they shouted, he said to Moses, "There is a noise of war in the camp."
I've completely told you the wrong chapter.
Yeah, 'cause I was
that
like,
is like 10 chapters. No.
You're like,
What is
so
going
far
on?
ahead. I thought we were like on 24 or something like that.
That was like 10 chapters ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, that's next. That's the next.
Oh,
I thought we were on like 24,
20
chapter 9.
20. 20. Oh man, no.
I mean, chapter 24, verse 9.
Yeah, we're on chapter 25. Oh no, yeah, 24, verse 9. I'm sorry.
Okay. Then Moses went up, also Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Israel. And they saw the God of Israel, and there was under his feet, as it were, a paved work of sapphire stone. And it was like the very heavens in its clarity. But on the nobles of the children of Israel he did not lay his hands, so they saw God, and they ate and drank. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Come up to me on the mountain and be there, and I will give you tablets of stone, and the law and commandments which I have written, that you may teach them." So Moses arose with his assistant Joshua, and Moses went up to the mountain of God. And he said to the elders, "Wait here for us until we come back to you. Indeed, Aaron and Hur are with you. If any man has a difficulty, let him go to them." Then Moses went up to the mountain, and a cloud covered the mountain.
Now this is the 16 and 18 I was talking about. 24. I'm sorry. I gave you the wrong chapter.
Oh, so you want me to keep reading now? I'm
Just
reading
read
everything.
this portion
All right.
because yeah.
Now, this is the whole chapter. And now the glory of the Lord rested on Mount Sinai, and the cloud covered it 6 days. And on the seventh day, he called to Moses out of the midst of the cloud. The sight of the glory of the Lord was like a consuming fire on top of the mountain in the eyes of the children of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
So Moses went into the midst of the cloud and went up into the mountain. And Moses was on the mountain 40 days and 40 nights. So essentially, Moses like just climbed up into a fiery cloud.
Yeah,
That's what they saw.
I wanted them to read
I
it.
would have been like, he's dead. Let's go.
That
He
I
definitely
why they
died.
assumed
You hear all
that
that
he
noise? That's the noise of a lot of people dying, and he went up into that.
that's what like you kind of look at the Israelites like y'all are stupid, but like imagine what they saw. They literally that's what they were looking at. He didn't only just go in there. Like many weeks passed and nothing, like no sign, no word.
Like,
Nothing.
hey, no, we're waiting here for Moses. Moses is dead.
this is the all
A lot
burning.
of you hear all that thunder and fire in the sky.
This
He's
is
gone.
This is the mountain that burns forever. Apparently, he's never
when
coming
God
back.
shows himself to the nobles and the elders, and then all of a sudden they just all start eating and drinking.
So we talked. I don't know if I remember mentioning it, but that was just a sign that they worshipped. That it was like an intimate moment where they broke bread. They had communion, quote unquote, in the presence of God. So they had this moment of reverence and they were together, united as one. Like the first time that you had the elders and the people of Israel in the presence of God, it was actually like a very, very important moment. And then the glory of God rested and it covered the mountain and Moses disappears. But it's interesting. I also want us to note a couple things. Joshua went with Moses in his assistant. He's mentioned here again. Joshua is, we know, going to be a very important figure. He's a key role. And then what God goes over with Moses over the next 40 days is super significant. But before we get into that, there's a couple similarities in the Bible that I thought was interesting to mention about the 40 days, because 40 days and 40 nights, Moses is on the mountain receiving, instructions.
The earth was created in 40 days and 40 nights.
The earth was flooded for 40 days and 40 nights, created in 7 days.
I know.
Jesus fasted for 40 days and 40 nights.
He was led into the wilderness for 40 days and 40 nights. It was 40 days before the beginning of his mission and between his resurrection and his ascension. Elijah met with God on Mount Horeb after his 40-day journey. Noah and the ark. Jonah, the city of Nineveh, fasted for 40 days to avoid destruction. This idea pops up kind of a bit throughout the Bible. I don't know.
So in other words,
Numbers mean a lot of things
we
in the
should
Bible.
all
But
fast for 40 days and 40 nights.
yes, we should all go straight, no food or water, 40 days, find a desert area, preferably,
That'd be good. Yeah,
and that will be good for us.
I like it. Sounds very biblical. And
No, I just thought it was interesting to note. Like, this is kind of like, again, numbers mean a lot of things in the Bible, and 40 is like,
What does 40 mean?
I don't know.
Why do you keep saying numbers mean a lot of things in the Bible?
Because I saw it, I see it keep popping up. Numbers are repeated, and it means that there's significance there.
Like a biblical hospital, basically, where
Hospital.
all the doctors are like, very well versed in the Bible, and everything they prescribe to their patients are things like this. Oh, you need to.
Josh,
need to go fast
you
for 40
just
days and 40
start
nights.
saying things are like, and then I don't think you have a full plan for the way it's going to end ever. You just kind of go. That's wild.
He's saying they should have a biblical hospital.
The number 40 is like a biblical hospital.
No. What I'm trying to say is like you have a lot of these holistic doctors where you go to them and they have all these natural remedies, and oh yeah, take this honey with this leaf of a mint or mint of a leaf, whichever one comes first, and then put it together and drink it, and you'll feel better. Your cough will go away. And then what I'm saying is like it'd be cool to have like a biblical type of hospital, other than like St. Mary's or other than those.
Well, they do have those. They're called St. Mary's and stuff like that.
They have holistic,
they have them.
natural doctors.
I've been to them.
Yeah,
Here's my thing, though.
I want a Pentecostal holy fire type of hospital where they let
the snake bite you, and then they.
Oh, you got bit by a snake? Here's another snake, more venomous. If you survive, you will be with
Here's my
God.
problem. Here's my problem with this whole thing, though. What does it have to do with 40 days repeated in the Bible? Like, that's where we were talking about.
If you have a little cough, you go fast for 40 days and 40 nights.
I see the train of thought.
It might get rid
now.
of your cough, but we know one thing. It will definitely help with
Get God's attention. Yeah.
Well,
And
like if the doctor's like, don't eat or drink for 40 days or 40 nights, it won't get rid of your cough, but it will get rid of you.
And therefore, your issues will disappear. And honestly, 100% success rate.
You're one of my issues. You got to go. Bye.
Like, can I eat at night? No. 40 days and 40 nights.
I think it's an interesting concept that you bring up with like that they're breaking communion in the sight of the Lord. So the eating and drinking in the sight of the Lord, you're saying that almost like this is one of the first moments of a communion type of thing. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we see that they did it before, right?
Obviously the Passover would be what is the first, because that's what Jesus at the Passover feast gives the Last Supper.
I don't see it this.
What do you think it meant whenever they broke bread and like they ate and drank?
I think that it's the same concept of like when Jesus went up on the mountain with the transfiguration and he brings his disciples and then what the first thing the disciples, they don't know what to do, so they want to serve. So they're like, well, let's pitch these tents for Elijah and for Moses. Let's pitch the tents so like make them comfortable. I think that even the nobles, they might have not known what to do in the sight of the Lord. So they're like, hey, we have this food, let's eat and drink. Like, let's, almost like trying to welcome God into their presence,
Yeah, but that's kind of like what I was saying. There was this sign of like communion, and together with God, they were breaking bread in a sign of comfort.
Do you think that God ate bread with them?
No.
He shows
God
up
doesn't eat?
almost physically, like from the way that it's described. He shows up almost basically physically on this rocket of fire. I'm using the word rocket because that's
wasn't
what I
a
like
rocket.
to use. On this rocket, right? We have the Star-Lord showing up.
Oh.
What?
God is Star-Lord. Continue.
Whatever. I don't see why not. We see the reference even with Abraham before with the angels and one of them theoretically we basically described almost as could be Jesus, where they say they stayed and they ate with Abraham.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
if that's Jesus and conceptually this is Jesus, it wouldn't throw it too far out of the picture for him to decide, hey, You guys are eating and drinking. That sounds like a good snack for the road. Let's go.
So I see what you're saying, because those angels did eat with Abraham. They offered him food. So that's good. In this story, in this episode specifically, there are going to be different depictions of God on the mountain on multiple occasions throughout the story. We're going to have to be very careful to distinguish and not. Humanity has a problem with anthropomorphizing. Is that the way you said it? Anthropomorphizing?
Yeah, why not?
I don't know.
When you
Do you not remember? I was a stupid kid.
What I'm saying is like making God more human, giving him more human attributes. Like you'll have parts where God shows
I don't
his back,
see the problem.
God's hand.
I don't see the problem with that, because
it's not. You're not supposed.
Image.
It's an issue because even the idea that we're going to cover here with when Moses changes quote unquote God's mind, having a God be like a human that he can change his mind. We're gonna talk about it here, but this is kind of the start of that, right? So they broke bread. Moses goes off into the cloud, and he's with them for 40 days. At the top of the mountain, God is with Moses, and he gives him instructions for multiple different things. Most notably, in chapter 25, he gives them what's known as the offerings for the sanctuary, and then gives them detailed instructions on how to create an ark. The Ark of the Covenant, or the Ark of Testimony, is going to be given. It's going to have to be 2.5 cubits shall be its length, a cubit and a half its width, and a cubit and a half its height. It's going to be this box with 2 angels, cherubim angels, with its arm or its wings across the top. It's going to have a place for poles to be put through the rings, and it's going to be overlaid with gold and worked and fashioned. And then God is also going to give instructions throughout this passage. The next, from chapters 25 to 31, he's going to give Moses instructions on how to build a meeting place or a tabernacle. He's going to go extremely detailed and fine. We're not going to read every single one of these chapters verbatim or go over every detail, because I recommend you go in the book of Exodus and read chapters 25 to 31,
especially the gold lampstand part.
Yeah, I'm going to brush over this and kind of break down a little bit, like the Ark of the Covenant, what they symbolize.
But that's the most important one.
The Ark of the Covenant is like, even to this day, we know the Ark of the Covenant. I mean, Indiana Jones, it popularized it. It's like nobody knows where it is to this day, but that was in the tabernacle that will be created in the Holy of Holies. That's where the presence of God was. The mercy seat would be where the priest would offer the blood of the atonement and pour it on the mercy seat. The mercy seat is a symbol of propitiation. The Ark of the Covenant itself was a symbol of the Lord's holy presence. Like where the Ark of the Covenant was, that, and for the rest of the Old Testament, would be, this is where God is.
It's curious that is lost, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, how is it that something that's so significant is lost?
Well, I mean, Rome, like different people, like, so first of all, the Israelites falling into sin, losing their way, allowing themselves to get conquered by other nations. Like the first time it was taken, whenever they went kept with Babylon, right? No. It gets taken a couple times. Once with David restores it.
Yeah, they're not very good at holding on to that thing.
It's a problem because they're also not good at keeping their covenant with God. So that's the whole
that's
issue.
The ark.
If that's like their greatest treasure, and you're an attacking empire, you're going to take their greatest treasure. But the Ark of the Covenant symbolizes the Lord's holy presence. The mercy seat that would be fashioned on top of the ark symbolizes
the gold lampstand. What is that symbolize?
Table of showbread was also important, symbol of physical provision. The golden lampstands, symbol of spiritual provision,
being fancy.
Because remember, the lampstands later in the Maccabean Revolution, like why they celebrate Hanukkah, they would light, and like the oil and the lampstands lasted for 12 days longer than, it was like a whole miracle.
So let me ask you a question.
I don't know. I'm not Jewish, man. That's
super famous.
Cool.
I talked to another individual today.
Wait.
About specifically the second commandment, and the second commandment is don't make an idol. And you might know where I'm going with this, but it's a question at the end of the day.
Kind of important this episode, yeah.
Why?
Well, so in the second commandment, it basically normally we don't. A lot of people don't read the whole thing. They, you know, when you look up a list of the Ten Commandments, you just see the shortened version of each commandment.
Yeah, like the titles, like thou shalt not, thou shalt not.
Basically, the second one is don't make an idol, any other, an idol before God. And God in that second commandment also says, don't make any carved images of anything from the heavens or of anything on earth, and put it before God. The thing here is this kind of like an idol?
The Ark of the Covenant? Is the Ark of the Covenant like an idol?
Yeah, because it's kind of like even the golden calf, which we'll see. They make something out of gold and then they worship it.
That's a great question. And if like you're looking at it from an outside point of view and you see God literally the chapter before, like, don't make anything to represent me. And then they're like, but make this box and then like put this in a place where nobody could go. And that's where my presence will be.
And this is super fancy lamp.
Yeah. Like
the lamp is super fancy, man. Like if you read that one, there's so many details of the lamp.
Well, the showbread was a symbol of physical provision God would give. The lampstand were the spiritual, or like the anoint, like, oil.
Yeah.
Anyway.
The lamp's a lot fancier.
Great.
3 bowls made like almond blossoms on the other branch every single branch of the lamp had to be all ornament.
Listen,
an ornamental knob in the flower.
Let me tell you, the entire tabernacle, and this is a beautiful thing, and I'm going to have this connection as well. There are so many connections between the tabernacle of meeting and eventually the temple and creation and the Garden of Eden. Like even the carvings on the poles and the pomegranates and leaves and the way it would have looked would have been so intricate and beautiful. God literally created people with artistic ability that given by him to be able to construct these structures and intimate.
Well, that's where I wanted to go.
Parts of it.
That's where
we're going to get there. Let me just get past the actual individual. Real fast.
No.
So the tabernacle itself.
No.
The tabernacle itself. So remember, the Ark of the Covenant was the symbol. It's of God's holy presence, right? It's not a depiction of God. It's not like a statue creating like a man
but at
or
that
a
point
being.
You're playing around with words and
it's like a throne. Like think about God sitting on this.
You say to somebody, you know how confusing that is. You'll say to someone, like, God's up there. I just saw him. There were 70 of us. We all ate and drank, and we just saw God. So God's up there. And then now we're creating this tabernacle. God's also in here.
I mean, at one point, God's presence isn't there when the ark is there too. So it's not like
get it.
God's presence is distinguished between the ark. So, and God himself said to do this, whereas God said, don't make any
That's
other
where I
idol.
wanted to get to is God himself said to do it. He made individuals specifically designed to make this. So it wasn't.
Did Moses make the ark?
It wasn't man. It wasn't man like making the ark, right? Just like how Noah made it, but it wasn't his design. It's basically like if me being the CEO of a company and I come up with this beautiful building, this skyscraper, right? I'm a designer. I'm an architect, and I create this beautiful building. And then I hire a lot of contractors, and they all build the building. Now the contractors are not like it's on some type of stone somewhere that will not say, "Oh, made by blah 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 construction." It'll say made by, and then it'll say the designer, like the person who designed the building, right? That's the one who's going to be credited of making that building. So even in this instance, it's the person who comes up with the blueprint. God came up with the blueprint for Noah's Ark, and Noah just made it, was an instrument. God came up with
he was a vessel
blueprint of
for
the
God's
ark,
work.
and he designed people for the purpose of actually putting it together.
Yeah, and Moses was made for the purpose of, leading his people out of Egypt and being, a prophet for his word.
Moses
and the symbol of the law.
Moses was made as a glorified manager.
Yeah.
Theoretically,
sure.
like that's what he is. He's not God, but and some of the people might have actually looked at him as being like maybe their, as a symbol of their god. But
yeah. So he creates all these instructions of specifically how much gold, what are the dimensions for the tabernacle itself will be the physical, like, okay, there is the tent where God comes. The bronze altar, symbol for a need, for a sacrifice for sin. The court outside the actual structure building symbolize a symbol of separation between God's presence and the physical place. The altar of incense was a symbol of prayer. The bronze laver would be a symbol of cleansing. The anointing oil and incense would be a symbol of consecration. And after God gives all these instructions on very specific parts of the tabernacle and the things to go inside of them, he then gives more instructions on the priests, his elect priests, who should be the priests. Their functions are specifically ruled out from chapter 27, verses 21 through chapter 28, verse 1. And then the priestly garments, he breaks it down to even what they should wear. What I'm trying to say here is that God was so specific with how he needs to be worshiped, how people need to come to his presence, what they need to wear, who serves and how they should serve. It's crazy that today we have this come as you are mentality when the same God of the Old Testament was so specific about how he was to be respected and how he was to be honored and how he was supposed to be feared. And today I feel like in our society and in modern Christianity, we lose sight of that. God is a holy God, and he demands certain levels of reverence and respect for his house, for his servants, for those that come into his presence. And I think if you just take a moment and read through these chapters, while they can be, if you don't really look at them with the right light, it could be like a daunting section of the Bible, like, oh, all this stuff. But when you look at it with the light of like, man, look how specific God was. Look how intricate he is, and look how attentive he is to details. I just think it's beautiful. Like the breastplate, the ephod, the tunic, the turban, the sash.
How to care for the lampstand.
Which are all made of metals.
Oh, why are you laughing? He told him how to care for it.
He did tell him how to care for the lampstand.
One of the main things is the constant notion of making something out of pure gold, right? You know how hard it is to use just pure gold? Because normally gold is mixed with different metals, right? Throughout, like, Andrew, you're giving me a face.
I'm thinking because from what I know, the gold goes through severe like refining processes to like eliminate impurities, and then it's worked. That's kind of the point of gold, is to not be mixed with anything. It goes through like crazy refurbishing and eliminating, so that, and it's like
you'll find gold like either obviously in rivers and streams, the panhandlers, or you'll find gold like embedded inside of a rock of some sort, like a bedrock type of thing, right? You mine for gold.
If you're panning for it.
What's the point of mining for gold?
You pan for it, it's already out and floating, and it's a heavier, denser metal than the gravel. So,
speaking of gold, they put it in Notre Dame football's helmets.
Actual gold?
Yeah, they sprayed gold on it.
Interesting.
It's been a thing for a long time. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Either way,
Josh?
Well, so gold
Go Fighting Irish
is one of the highest conductors of electricity, right? So
it's a conductor. That's why it's in cell phones.
It's it's the best conductor of electricity. In other words, I don't even want to say one of the highest. It's the best. That exactly. That is why it's in cell phones. It's in every single, like, anything that I would say probably has like small microchip type of things, like small wiring. Gold is used because it's very, very good for it. What I'm trying to say is what?
That's incorrect. But
a quick Google search shows that it's actually silver.
Pure silver.
I just thought that was funny because like gold and silver. You're like, gold is the best, and like silver's over there like.
Aren't you an electrician?
Okay. Yeah, you should know this.
Wouldn't you know this?
You're like so good at your job. I was
always under the impression that it was gold. But either way, gold is very, very high up.
It's still very good. You're right. It's up there, but it's just funny because like the number one, silver.
It's interesting that it's silver. Huh.
Maybe Google's lying.
Could be. Anyway, what were your point about the gold? Yes, it's refined.
God's making God's making his. Remember before where with like energy, right? Being connected to the earth. It's all about energy.
I see where you're going with this.
Energy. Basically, if they're saying that the presence of the Lord is confined, not confined, but is with it is tied to the Ark of the Covenant, and the Ark of the Covenant is this extremely highly conductive object of that it's almost like a satellite. It could be.
It's wood overlaid with gold. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're saying it's just an
easy portal device for God to show up.
There it is.
It's like an electrical.
It's an electric portal for God's presence.
Yeah. It's also like mountains. Mountains are like if you stand on top of a mountain during a thunderstorm, you are a very high chance of being struck by lightning. If you are on top of a tree, you could also be struck by lightning. The higher you are, the higher the chance. Not by physically high.
Thank you, Josh. So the Ark of the Covenant is an electric conducting portal for God's presence. Even though God manifests himself as like a cloud, and it would like a smoke would fill the temple. It would be like, mist.
I'm just trying to grasp together on why he's using,
That's a good question. Why use an ark for that, and why pour over that, and why have the angels with their wings outstretched over the box? God gives very specific, detailed, design for this box that will carry eventually, the tablets and the rod and some manna. And remember, we talked about how they collected some manna to keep. Manna will be in the Ark of the Covenant in this box. But God uses more than just gold. I mean, gold is all over the temple, but specifically for like the breastplate of the priests, they have a bunch of stones. There will be like the first row, there'll be set stones, 4 rows of stones, right? So the first will be sardis, topaz, emerald.
Don't even get stones. Dude, what stones and crystals are also like in the
well, there's diamond.
I want to say like even yoga world. What's that type of mentality? Like they're spiritual, but like they're really into like collecting crystals for their mantras and
hippies. I don't know.
It's not hippie, guys.
Where your chi, in other words,
serious stuff here.
Your chi, your chira, whatever.
Your chakra, dude.
Your chakra.
Wow.
Yeah, your chakra. But stones and crystals resemble they're also very used
yelled that so loud.
They're chakras, bro.
In energy. And basically
what's funny is
in storing energy.
Wait for this. This is going to blow your mind, Josh. All these 12 stones are going to be set in gold casings, like in settings in the breastplate. And then it's supposed to be, engraving, they shall be according to the 12 tribes. They're symbolizing 12 tribes of
Can it just be that it looks nice?
It does look nice too. These are the stones, right? You have turquoise, sapphire, diamond, jacinth, agate, amethyst, beryl, onyx, jasper, topaz,
jasper.
Emerald, sardius. Like there's a good amount of like really cool little stones, man. I don't know. They're there. And one of the things about the priestly garments that I wanted to talk about that I thought was interesting was the idea of the Urim and what is it called?
Umathermin?
Or the Urim and the Thummim. I always mess that up.
Whoa. Urathermin?
No, not the Urim and the Thummim. Technically, it means light and protection. There's some debate about what this actually was because people don't actually remember or know what specifically part of the priestly garment this was. But a lot of people believe it was something that the high priest would hold to help divine God's instruction or his direction. Some people think and suggest that it was a way of casting sacred lots. Like, I don't know if it was actually dice that they would roll, but a way that they would be able to, if they were caught between like what's God's will, this would be 2 tools like light and perfection to help them define what is the will of God for this particular situation. Others suggest that Kinda, but others suggest that it was just symbolic of the high priest's special authority as God's spokesperson. You know, I saw a movie a long time ago. It was like Samuel had the like two stones in his hand, and like the light shined off of it and shone on David's face. Like it was a really weird. I don't even remember what movie it was,
bro.
But
going back to the stones. Did you know
we're still here on the stones?
I don't know why, but
I didn't expect to stop on the stones.
Stay here for a long
because
time.
Stones. You know, you can actually input and output data on stones.
Josh,
diamonds.
I think you're leading to like an ancient computer system, like ancient technology.
Yes, I am leading to that because why not? Why?
I mean, I'm just saying. I think that's where you're going.
Because that's too scary.
It doesn't conform with my preconceived notions of ancient Israel.
Look at Thanos. Thanos is collecting.
We're not going to look at Thanos.
Not anymore. You promised to stay away from Thanos.
No more popular culture for you. All right.
He's collecting all the stones, and then
oh
with
my
the stones,
goodness, he was
on that glove. What
the gauntlet
on that gauntlet with all the stones there. Guess what he has? He has ultimate power. With all the stones on the tabernacle, it has ultimate power.
On, man.
We're talking about the holy priest garment and like the ark.
Now, here's the other thing.
It doesn't help that it is like a perfect, like these stones in a casing that gave him power.
These specific stones, they can you can write data into the stones. Stones have memory, in other words. So with a precise. And that's funny that you brought up the shining of the stones of the light.
That was just like, again, that's not the Bible.
No, because
that was like
that's one of the ways.
Movie.
That's how you write data on stones is a precise light or a laser, and then you basically you shine it onto the stone, and it's imprinted basically into the stone, and then you can also extract it from the stone by shining the light, and it's almost like God is with that reference. God can download information onto your brain by the reflection of light from a stone to your face, which has your brain on it. But yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it's interesting. It's definitely really interesting.
So the breastplates were breastplates of judgment. I mean, it was.
The Ark of the Covenant was a giant computer.
The tabernacle was a giant computer. Everything inside of it were elements inside, like chips and different parts of a computer, the RAM and the chip and the CPU.
Well, think about it. Instead of God coming down, he has this direct connection, right, with the gold and everything. It has a very strong connection. So he has this direct
power
connection.
Source.
And all the stones and the gems on there are this giant memory type of thing, and he's able to input data onto there. And as he's inputting data, there's certain people that are allowed to somewhat kind of not touch it, right? Obviously, we'll see that later. You can't touch this thing because if you do, you'll die. Or is that not the right one? Yeah, this is the right one.
Yeah, you can't go into the Holy of Holies. Yeah,
can't go into the Holy of Holies. That's interesting.
Okay, so
I mean, look, I'm gonna push back a little on Josh.
So the tabernacle was an ancient computer.
I mean, look, God
doesn't bring movies back.
God does not need stones and gold and all this to get his message across. I mean, it's the same God that spoke creation into existence. Because he gave us instructions to do something, and we did it.
We keep saying that God doesn't need to do these things. I get it. Maybe he doesn't. But why does he keep doing it? So why does he build? Like why does he do that?
Because maybe we're not able to understand things just manifesting out of thin air.
Not just do a whole Elijah sweep and just grab Noah from the earth and then just wait for the flood and then put him back. Why doesn't he do that? Why does he create these things? I get that God doesn't need to do it, but why does he do it?
And I have an answer for you, because mankind needs to listen to God's instructions and God's word. It's our obedience that brings about our salvation. God doesn't just give us our salvation without our obedience being a part of it. Like, just like Jesus died for our sins, right? But you have to accept the salvation and repent of your sins in order to accept, in order to be saved.
You're right.
So it's not, so
answer.
it's like, why did God ask Noah to build an ark? Why couldn't he just pluck him and his family in the sky? Because then there would be like, Noah has no skin in that game. Then it's essentially, there's no proof from Noah that Noah trusts God or has faith in God, which the whole point of God's, trying to get with humanity. What happened, I believe, with Adam and Eve is we lost our ability to have total faith and trust in God. And we lost our ability to listen to God, right? Because we disobeyed
we
him.
lost our
So now we have to
connection
we have to earn that back by obeying God's commandments. And these are just a strict set of commandments.
Now we have this this heavenly computer built for us to reestablish a direct connection with God.
But it's not the computer that connects us; it's our obedience that connects us to God.
Here's what it is.
What's connecting me and you right now? It's a computer.
But you're not God. And neither am I, dude. You got no skin in this. What are you talking about?
You're not God.
What are you going at here?
Oh my gosh, guys. All right, let me interject here.
Wherever the computer is, that's where the connection with God is. So when they lose the Ark of the Covenant,
what? I mean, it's just this weird.
Let me just refute that, because God's presence is right there, and there's no ark. And then the ark isn't built for the rest of this episode, and God's presence is there even off the mountain. But here's what it actually is, if you want to know. And you at home, the listeners, you can Google examples of the tabernacle or pictures of the tabernacle or even the temple, which it will eventually very much so assimilate. It is a recreation of the Garden of Eden. It is a recreation of just think about it. You have in the center, in the Holy of Holies, in the Ark of the Covenant, you have the law that will be placed inside of there, and the fruit, like the tree that budded, it will be the knowledge of good and evil. Like there is in the center, you have the inner Holy of Holies, the outer courts, you'll have this whole structure that's made to imitate the original creation that God had through which he would interact with humanity. Think about the overarching purpose of God and the plan he has throughout all of this is he's trying to reconnect, not electronically, Josh, but he's reestablishing the connection between humanity and himself, to reestablish that relationship that was lost because of sin, right? Now, these physical, I just talked about the symbolic representations of them from behind. They're all supposed to symbolize a greater purpose. There's nothing about the physical ark or the physical lampstands. It's about what it's representing in a spiritual plane, in a spiritual aspect with a spiritual God. Because God, the Bible tells us that God is spirit, right? Not that he can't manifest and then create physical and how he works, but we serve a physical God. And if you look at the creation of the tabernacle and the story of creation, I have a graph. I'm not going to go over every little thing, but there are a ton of similarities. And this is a very well-known theological point that the creation of the tabernacle and the story of creation are marked with very many coinciding points, like the 7 acts marked by 7 divine speeches. And God said, and God said. Here, when he tells them about the tabernacle, it says, and the Lord said, and the Lord said. Said the Spirit of the Lord was moving over the surfaces of the water. God says, I have filled, Bazel with the Spirit of God. God saw everything and it was good. Moses saw all the work and they had done it and it was good. The heaven and the earth were finished and all the work of the tabernacle was finished. God finished his work. Moses finished his work. It's like there are specific key indicators that are supposed to tie back to the story of creation that are put there. But needless to say, this is going to be a physical place where they can separate themselves from your house, and this is where God resides. It's meant to be in the midst of the people. Now, the problem with this is as God is giving instruction for something that should be a place for God to have in the midst of his people in his camp, they are again, like Adam, creating sin, disobeying the one commandment that God gives them. Like, you know, one of the first, like he literally, the first thing he says, they immediately break it, and it separates again. God's second time trying to reestablish connection with his people. He has a people, he made it. He went through all these hundreds and thousands of years at this point, to like, not hundreds of thousands, hundreds of years and almost a couple thousand years to get to this point to reestablish, and they mess it up. I skipped over, you know, the builders of the time. We talked about a couple of guys that God built. It's just the passage almost ends with chapter 31 before getting into the chapter 32, which talks about the golden calf incident. I thought it was one of the most interesting things that, you know, God names a couple of these people and says that he has filled them with the Spirit of God in wisdom and understanding and knowledge and all manner of workmanship to design artistic works in gold, silver, bronze, cutting of jewels and setting, carving wood. This guy named Bezalel, which would be the grandson of Hur. Remember, Hur was the man who was on the right side of Moses holding up his arm with Aaron.
I remember her.
Yeah, his grandson would be one of the ones filled with the Spirit of God to be able to be an artist, as alongside with Aholiab. I don't really know how to say his names well. I butcher him, but, you know, his name means the Father is my tent. Bezalel name means in the shadow of God.
Names?
Oh, that would be much better.
I'm so bad at every name.
And then God words out the laws of the sacrifices and offering, and also reveals to maintain holiness and atonement. And this is going to be over and over repeated. Keep the Sabbath day holy. The 10 Commandments then were famously at the final part we read before we enter into what's going on the bottom of the mountain. We see that God himself writes the commandments with his own finger on 2 tablets of stone, which I think is wild. I don't like to think about this, again, anthropomorphic view of God physically with a finger writing the law on something like solid, like a stone. You know, it's permanent, you know, it's heavy. It's like, this is established. This is like where you get that saying, oh, this is written in stone. You know what I mean? You're not going to erase that with a rubber eraser. You know, God is not, and this is a very important key in the story too.
Is one of the best ways to store data. So
you do. You mentioned.
Oh man. So can we get to chapter 32?
So now we officially. That's why I wanted to kind of. I brushed
get to the chapter that this episode's supposed to be over, because I can't wait for chapter 32.
You know, the Lord walked in the garden. The Lord walked in the midst of the
it.
Humanity was to worship and obey. The Levite, the priests, were to worship, to serve and heed. The same words that God gave to tend and to keep were given to the Levites as priests.
It's as if there's parallels between the temple and creation.
Well, even like I said earlier, even the design inside of the tabernacle and eventually the temple, there was like a lot of, you know, naturistic designs like leaves and vines.
All in all, everything that God chose
is that not a word?
Everything that God designed to be on their
naturalistic. It's naturalistic.
Has some type of reference. It's all tied. It's all tied to something that God did or is doing or will do. All of it. So. Yeah, I mean, we can go on and on and on about, this means this means that.
But no, Josh, you're not. I don't want to make it seem like you're crazy. Like the ideas that you have, like I never thought about it like that. That is kind of wild. You're right. Conductors and power sources, and we look at. I mean, I feel like God's fingerprint is in everything, even in our ability as humanity to create technology. There's an idea there. We come up with these things for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, we do create. God created fingers and technology, so we could get to chapter 32, the gold calf.
All right, so in chapter 32,
man, I love this story.
This is
so wild.
Well, that's where we're at. You know, we're kind of at the halfway point. We covered what's going on the top of the mountain. Now let's see what's going down at the bottom. Nathan, start with verse 1 in chapter 32.
Now, when the people saw, I'm laughing. Now, when the people saw that Moses delayed coming down from the mountain, the people gathered together to Aaron, who was Moses' brother, by the way. Also was there when God was present and all that stuff, right?
Called to be a priest in this temple.
Yeah. And said to him, "Come, make us gods that shall go before us. For as for this Moses, this man brought us up out of the land of Egypt. We don't know what has become of him." And Aaron said to them, Aaron, who was Moses' brother, and also like a priest and stuff. Aaron said to them, break off the golden earrings which are in the ears of your wives, your sons, and your daughters, and bring them to me. So all the people broke off the golden earrings which were in their ears and brought them to Aaron, and he received the gold from their hand, and he fashioned it with an engraving tool and made a molded calf. Then they said, "This is your God, O Israel, that brought you out of the land of Egypt."
Nice.
So when Aaron saw it, he built an altar before it. Aaron did. And Aaron made a proclamation and said, "Tomorrow is a feast to the Lord." Then they rose early on the next day, offered burnt offerings, and brought peace offerings, and people sat down to eat and drink, and rose up to play.
So it's funny. We're back to that.
I'm going to stop there.
It's funny. We're back to that eat and drink idea, but then rose to play.
What does play mean? They're not playing Xbox, people.
They were probably involved in some type of debaucherous activity involving sensual,
If so, I can't. I don't know if I can. Maybe the eat and drink in this aspect was eat and drink and get drunk and then wake up and lolly do da dee da day.
Yeah, essentially, they were in a giant, it doesn't say explicitly that they were it's widely understood by biblical scholars that this phrasing was used whenever you relate it with other writings saying that worshiping gods are in these feast days or sacrifices. There would also be some type of sexual immorality going on there. And, orgy-like
they
activities.
Just had one amazing band and then they, all right, 1, 2, 3,
it was a
4.
giant concert.
Dun, 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 dun.
Or they were really just playing games. They're let's play feast games.
It could be. It could be.
Playing tag and.
Yeah, every festival and huge party normally will always have games attributed to it. So it could be they were pinning the tail on the donkey that Abraham never gave his son.
I'm reading ahead. This is crazy.
Yeah, so let's just start from the beginning. They gathered against Aaron, right? This
wasn't really against Aaron. They just gathered to Aaron.
There's actually a different translation. I think it's the ESV. It says against Aaron. And the reason I bring it up is okay, think about what's going on here and the mindset and how they get to this point, right? You literally have they heard the voice of God say, "Do not make any idols. Do not kill. Do not murder." They went to the
Didn't Aaron also see God when on the
he literally watched Moses disappear into the mist and the smoke.
Exactly.
He's
so Aaron's down there, and he's supposed to basically kind of manage whatever's going on down there. And all these Israelites, they don't know what's going on. I don't know why Aaron just didn't tell them. He could have easily just said something. But
I'm sure he did. So there's. And again, I have to be careful with this because this isn't in the Bible. But remember, before Moses left, he said, "Do you not have Aaron and Hur with you?" Yeah. Right, symbolizing their two main leaders there. Hur being again his brother-in-law, and then married to Miriam, and Aaron being his biological brother. In Jewish tradition, there is a thought that could be attributed to the reasoning why Aaron would have been so influenced to do it so easily, to build a calf when they came to him. It's said and thought that they came to Hur first, and he stood up against them and told them, "What is wrong with y'all? Absolutely not." He pretty much yelled at them and said, "How dare you? Did you not just hear the covenant and the commandment of God?" And they got so mad at him that a mob got together and killed Hur, took his body and threw it at the feet of Aaron. And then they said, "Are you going to build us an altar?" And Aaron, looking at the mob having just murdered his buddy, who was his co-leader, is like, yeah, go ahead and give me some, just give me some materials here. We'll make it happen, to try to save his life. Because I don't know about you guys, but dying to a mob, getting torn apart and beaten, like that's witnessing that would absolutely sway someone to do something they probably don't want to do initially.
I mean, but that's not in the Bible.
Again, not in the Bible, but we also don't hear a lot about her
Talmudic
after
tradition. So it's basically
it's a Leviticus Rabbah 10 with 3. There's there's a lot of it. It's something that's taught by Jewish scholars and stuff like that. Moses was afraid and sought to buy himself some time.
I remember reading somewhere that they like tore him to pieces and everything.
Like a mob killed him.
They dismembered this guy like badly. So imagine Aaron watching all this happen, and he's just like, "Oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna play along." And everybody, they're not idiots. Like it's almost like, something happens right before. Like, I'm not even going to use an example because I'm just going to use the story. The Israelites all saw the works of God. They saw the tornado of fire. They saw the Red Sea splitting. They saw all the 10 plagues on Egypt occurring. They saw it all. And then they know who the God of Israel is. They've seen all the works. They've heard his voice. They've seen the cloud of fire, the shaking of the earth. And then now all of a sudden, Aaron just like, yeah, this is the God that brought you out of Egypt. And everybody's like, yes, this is the God. But they all, like, everybody knows. It's like this stupid game that they're all playing of like a pretend type of thing. Everybody knows that it's not true, but they're all like, yeah, we're just going to switch sides, even though it doesn't make any sense at all. And who is this random God that they just made? Who is it? They didn't even name him. They're just kind of like, this is it. The earrings. And how many people, like, they all had gold earrings or something like that?
Millions. But here's the thing. I also read some, because you're right. Like, why would they go from 0 to 100 so quick to be like, why? And again, this is not in the Bible. There is a school of thought and some Jewish tradition that states, or I don't even know if it's Jewish tradition or if it's mythology, but that during this time that the devil actually interceded. He kind of jumped in and sought to mess up the plans here and created an illusion in the sky of Moses being suspended between heavens and earth, like he was like floating, and deceived the people essentially into thinking that he's never coming back and that God was against them and like they did something wrong.
Where was this?
This is man, I have it sourced here, but I don't believe this.
This is some guy on the internet.
No, this is actual. Like, you could look it up. This is like I read it in multiple places. It wasn't just I saw it once.
That would almost
if I bring up anything like that,
for the 0 to 100.
If I bring up anything like that, it's usually like I've looked it up on multiple sources. It's not like just a once in a random dude wrote a fan fiction, maybe,
Yeah, one Reddit post that went viral.
So he was just suspended in the air.
And then they were
looking dead or something?
Looking lifeless. And there was like a fake image, and that's why the Israelites were like, they needed something. They're like, what's going on? We need something. Give us, where's the God? And that's why Aaron uses a specific phrase, like, this is the God. Because they're still not that, a God took them out of Egypt. Somebody saved them. And this is, quote unquote, the God that did it. Now, why a golden bull? Why a golden calf?
Calves
Anybody know?
Cool. Because they're delicious?
I mean, you could probably relate it to the Egyptian god that was, in fact, like a calf, Apis, or some people call him Hepi. It was a bull god of fertility in the underworld and would eventually become, for the Israelites,
remember,
the god
Baal. I told this story before. Remember? Remember this story with the two brothers and the heart goes into the tree and then he becomes a bull? And
yeah, exactly.
I've told this story.
I thought it was a calf because it's easy to make.
Well, there's also the idea of like it goes back to their people and their ancestors.
Circle
like
is easy to make.
It also goes back to the fact
circle wasn't invented yet.
It goes back to the Israelites when they first came in with Joseph and Jacob. They came into Egypt. They were given. Pharaoh comes to Jacob and is like, "What do you do?" And Jacob was like, me and my ancestors, we were all shepherds." He's like, "Okay, you'll be over all my cattle and my livestock." And so the symbol of the cow was like embedded in like what the Israelites were doing for hundreds of years, even before they were in captivity. So there was influences there as well. It kind of like they were known for that. So that was like a symbol for the Israelites there. It could be why. But let's talk a little bit about like, you know, Aaron very explicitly being the one that made it and did it and using engraving tools and where he got his materials and how he did it and then built an altar and even made it's interesting because God sees what's going on and looks to Moses at this moment and says, go get down, for the people whom you brought out of the land of Egypt have corrupted themselves. Nathan, if you want to continue from verse 8.
They have turned aside quickly out of the way which I commanded them. They have made themselves a molded calf and worshipped it and sacrificed to it and said, this is your God, O Israel, that brought you out of the land of Egypt. And the Lord said to Moses, I have seen this people, and indeed it is a stiff-necked people. Now therefore let me alone, that my wrath may burn hot against them, and I may consume them, and I will make of you a great nation.
So that's the first time we see, and this is going to be something that God uses a lot, referring to the Israelites, or at least this generation of Israelites, as a stiff-necked people.
Stiff-necked.
Yeah, like stubborn, like just ignorant, stuck in one way.
Stiff-necked.
They can't look left and right. Like it's just
their neck is
stiff.
And like a stiff neck.
And God makes a really interesting proposition here. Not even a proposition, a declaration. He's like, this is what I'm going to do.
I'm just going to kill them.
I'm just going to wipe them out.
Make you a great nation.
I am so frustrated.
He uses that though, right? Because what's the problem with the majority of believers nowadays, right? Like we call them narrow-minded, right? So that's what we say. Like, oh, they're very narrow-minded. They only look at it in one direction, and they're not willing to see all the other ways that God can work, right?
They're stiff-necked.
They're stiff-necked.
Isn't that
so
funny?
God wants the Israelites to not be stiff-necked. And what's the other? You know, how do you not what? It's basically being able to completely look around in all directions and see God in all directions, not just one direction. And I think that's what we do a lot of times. Oh, maybe I'll save that for my greater meeting.
Oh,
uh-oh.
Little sneak peek.
Well,
either way.
Here's the thing about having a stiff neck. It's painful.
Yeah, I'm assuming. I don't know. I don't have a stiff neck.
Well, not if you're in a cast and you're on.
And then what? Cast?
Yeah, not if
so Moses
neck brace.
Moses takes this opportunity and
let's talk more about the stiff neck.
Oh yeah, let's go back to that.
Interrupting Andrew. Okay, go ahead, Andrew. And now Moses what?
So Moses hears this thing that God says, and
yeah, he's standing right there. Of course he hears.
No, but he doesn't miss a beat. It's so interesting to see that like God justifyingly would destroy this people who have done this great sin, and instead of him being like, yeah, you're right, they suck, let's do that, what he does is he intercedes for them on their behalf. And we have the beginning of a very, very beautiful relationship that Moses unfolds with God, and this communication and this dialogue that he'll have for the rest of this portion. And this is kind of like the beginning of that. You know, God has just finished laying out the groundwork on how he should be worshipped and how he should be treated in his place and his habitation, and how he should dwell amongst the people that he has brought out of Egypt. And he has taken all this time to single out and make for his plan and his purpose. And then they immediately break like the first commandment that he spoke to them audibly, so clear, and says, I will destroy them. I'll wipe them out. And Moses, instead of just taking that moment to be the new, Abraham, he says that he pleaded with the Lord. And he uses a couple different arguments to, quote unquote, change God's mind, right? He appeals to the promise, God's promise, on the way that God's name and reputation would be smeared if this were to happen in the way that God said, showing a deep understanding of God's character and his faithfulness. And he appeals to, like, did you just bring, like, why should the Egyptians say and speak that he brought them out to harm them and kill them in the mountains and consume them from the face of the earth? Turn your fierce wrath and relent from the harm to your people. Remember Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, your servants whom you swore by your own self. And now I have a question here, because this is something that is brought up, and Josh asked this question earlier in the beginning of this podcast. Can God change his mind? Would an all-knowing God, who had everything already set in stone and and knows the future, the past, outside of everything, why would someone like that change their mind?
I'm assuming this is where I have to come in.
I mean, anybody, if you want to answer.
Well, there's only two of us here. That's not you.
Anyone that wants to just go ahead and email us at greatermeaningpodcast@gmail.com.
I'm going to say, because I've said it before, I'm going to say that, yeah, you can change God's mind. He is all knowing. And that's the hard part, right? That obviously we can't grasp our minds around. Like how can you say like, oh yeah, he's all knowing, and oh yeah, well, I changed his mind. Well, if he's all knowing, it's a weird way to think about it because it doesn't make sense. So, but we see it happen. Like, that's the thing. It's like, you can argue all we want, like, against the concept of, oh yeah, you could you can't change God's mind. You just can't. But then we see it constantly happen in the Bible, and it's hard to speak against the facts. That's really what it is.
I mean, it literally says the Lord relented from harm which he would do to his people because of Moses' words that he said. But the Bible also tells us in Numbers 23 that God is not a man that he should lie, nor a son of man that he should change his mind. Does he speak and then not act? So it sounds contradictory,
Numbers.
That's a little bit in the future.
I know it's a little bit in the future, but some of the stuff that was said in Numbers is like, even when David is speaking, right? And we use Psalms as examples. Psalms it's kind of like, if I'm telling Nathan about Andrew, and I say all these, Andrew is just the smartest guy in the world. He's amazing.
I don't think that's true.
He's awesome. I'm just saying, like they're poems. I don't want to say they're exaggerated, but like in a form, it's kind of hard to use some of that stuff because these are ways of talking about someone in a sense of glory beyond itself, right? It's because we know that Andrew is not the smartest man in the world. Sorry, Andrew, if it's
okay.
Hurt you.
I mean, he's pretty low on that. Totally.
Now we do know that God is
world.
I wasn't sticking my hand in open flames like, oh,
yeah, like whenever you're going before God,
innocent child.
Whenever you're going before God and you're worshiping God, you say all these praises, all these things to God, and you tell God basically how amazing he is and the glory and everything, which he is. But I'm saying, like, using some of those as an example for an actual like evidence type of thing of, oh, this is what it is. I don't see it as 100% credible.
Can God change his mind? Let me answer it now. Can God change his mind? If he's all knowing,
take the all-knowing aspect out. I said, let's just do that.
But
take the all-knowing. I get that, but that messes with your brain. Okay, so just take that out and look at it for what it is.
I mean, I think the onus is on you to put forth the effort to attempt to change God's mind, which is going to determine whether or not God will change his mind. Does that make any sense to you?
So
it makes sense in my head. No, let me continue, because you're like just quick to always no.
My bad. I thought you were done.
No, I mean, I'm saying is it's like you have to be the one knocking, right? In order for him to open the door, but you have to knock, right? You have to take that step to get that change. But was God going to make that change regardless? Well, were you going to knock regardless? You know, like it's like that's the way I look at it. I don't think God can change his mind. I think that God always had a certain, you know, this is what it's going to be, but it's like a test for Moses. Are you going to intercede? Because Moses ultimately is like the precursor to Christ, and Christ on our behalf is the what is that? How do you say
the intercessor?
Intercessor on our behalf.
It would have been nice if he would have wrote it at some point about, oh, it was just a test. But
he's not going to, because why would he say it's a test?
So then we're doing is adding like something that wasn't. We're adding a narrative that we don't see. I get that I do that a lot, which I do, but I do a cause and effect type of thing. Like, why is something happening? And I try to find, a logical, in my mind, a logical reason on why it could have happened the way it is. In this reference, it's kind of hard to do that because we have it written specifically that, well, God relented to Moses' pleading and decided, you know what? I'm not going to wipe them out.
Well, I mean, but you also were like looking at God in a weird context. We're making him so human when we're saying things like change. I don't know why. Mind.
I don't know why that has to have really like such a negative like to it, because if
it's not negative, it just doesn't fit what God is to me.
That's the way you're making it sound. Oh, we're making. No,
I'm not making it sound. So, like, to you, because like, all right, it might sound. It's very. So my opinion of God is a very. I mean, people think that my opinion of God is harsh, because God created, so many beautiful things, but he also created cancer and created loss and, created a circumstance for some people that are horrible. And does that mean that God is not a great God because there's so many, like, there's people born in this world that are just born to suffer and die, right? So God, but we're looking, and because we're human, we're like, oh, that's a bad thing. But so to God, it's like God is beyond good and bad things like that. God is God. He's the creator of everything, right? He's a creator of circumstance, and everything we do are supposed to glorify God. It is our response. What we're called to do is to glorify God because he created us. Now, we should glorify God in our bad circumstance and in our good circumstance, right? But this is a very philosophical discussion. Yeah, but the problem is we change God's mind. If you look at him more as like he's a human.
What we don't see here is we do not see Moses glorifying God in the bad. God is about to wipe them out. So you're driving on you're going on your way to work, and God says, I'm going to take out your tire. Well, in your example, you're saying that you're going to glorify God. Say, God, thank you. I love you, God. You make the best decisions. He does. Okay. But in this example, I'm going to say, you make the best decisions. But if Moses is driving that car, God's he's telling Moses, whoa. God, don't take the tire out.
Yeah, but no, that's not a good example, because again, it's not.
You're like changing what I'm saying.
That has nothing to do, because it's not. Moses didn't hit an old woman causing a tire, and he go. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't.
God's about to wipe out Israel.
He's right,
Moses
because of
saying,
it's.
Don't do it.
And God is a just God. They broke the commandment that he made for them, delivering them, bringing them to a mountain. They came to worship, and they immediately did what they weren't supposed to do. Now, God being a righteous God, if we're going to worship God as a righteous God, a just God, they deserve punishment.
Okay.
So God is doing what he's supposed to do. Moses is interceding and asking for mercy, and God showing and revealing that he is more than just a black and white, I'm going to wipe everybody out because that's what we deserve.
It goes back to
he
the
is showing his love.
Minds. Because
here's the thing.
If God
and
is
Nathan,
supposed to wipe them out because of righteous glory and
righteous judgment, righteousness,
righteous judgment.
Nathan touched on it perfectly, because again, we anthropomorphize God in the terms of like, oh, well, I wouldn't. I mean, he's obviously changing his mind, but actually you're absolutely right. God did not change it in this interaction. Moses did. When you look at the evolution of who Moses was and God knowing that he would step up and do that to help develop him as a man, as a leader, as a carrier of this law, to be intimately aware of the purpose
100%.
behind the law. He's there to not only just give this blanket, do this, don't do that. But he wanted to develop Moses as a man to represent exactly the reason for him bringing him out in the desert, taking him to a mountain and writing with his fingers on the stone. Not because it's just supposed to be 1, 2, 1, 2, but because God is showing a path here. He's creating a complete new level of understanding, another brick on the building, glaring and saying that you guys need a savior. Because even this law that God is, they're not going to follow it. They're not going to allow it, or they're not going to fulfill it, and they're not going to do it the right way. God is making his way towards the understanding and dropping the seeds that they are in need of a savior. And God wanted to develop Moses to be the one to stand up for him. For them. And again, this is one thing that people miss about this point. God did not just not punish. If we look at what happens, this generation that did this doesn't make it into the promised land, right? Only people that don't are Caleb and Joshua. And it's like, God was like, he is right. Like, no, actually later he even says, those that sin are going to be blotted out. Right. But yeah. But he relents from his initial, and even Moses being from the line, of Levi and being one of these that are made from a descendant of Abraham and Jacob. And if God would have wiped them all out and went from Moses, he wouldn't have broken his commandment to, Jacob and Isaac and Abraham. It would have still been from the line of Abraham, would it have not?
Yeah. Yeah.
But God showed his mercy and grace here. See, mercy is when we are given something, when we're not given what we deserve. And grace is when we're actually giving something in spite of something we don't deserve, right? It's a gift. Mercy is when you're not given the punishment you deserve. Grace is when you're giving a gift in spite of that. And that's what God is showing that he is able and capable of doing. And Moses is the one that he used to like reveal that. Now, it's funny how Moses is fighting so hard for them at the top of the mountain, but then he descends down and he comes down with a different, like an attitude when he actually faces them. And he comes down and he confronts Aaron. And Nathan, if you want to read, 15. I didn't have the note. I had a different
And Moses
note.
turned and went down from the mountain, and the 2 tablets of the testimony were in his hand. The tablets were written on both sides. On the one side and on the other they were written. Okay.
Yeah.
Now the tablets were the work of God.
And they were written on both sides.
And the writing was the writing of God engraved on the tablets.
For both sides.
Yeah. And when Joshua heard the noise of the people as they shouted, he said to Moses, "There is a noise of war in the camp."
No.
Wow. It sounded like war. But he said, "It is not the noise of shout of victory.
Oh, poor Joshua.
Nor the noise of the cry of defeat, but the sound of singing I hear." And so it was, as soon as he came near the camp, that he saw the calf and the dancing. So Moses' anger became hot, and he cast the tablets out of his hands and broke them at the foot of the mountain.
This part right here is just
Then he
wild.
took the calf which they had made, burned it in the fire, and ground it to powder, and he scattered it in the water, and made the children of Israel drink it.
I'm just glad that we're finally back to anger issues, Moses. It's like this is the most like crazy crash out. Like God, they just reiterated like 30 times. God made this, engraved it with the finger, and Moses just smashes it down in front of everybody. And then how angry do you have to be to melt down gold, grind it? I didn't even know you could grind gold to powder like that.
Well, the thing that's funny is you melt down gold and then you have to let it cool off and then you grind it. So he's sitting there super angry, staring at everybody while all this is happening. It's not like it's immediate. It's not like in a second. It's like it takes a minute to melt, then it takes a minute to cool. And he's like sitting there like super angry, staring at everybody. And everybody's like, "That's the guy we thought was dead."
He just sitting there with
There's a rumor
grindstone.
he was just floating in the sky, a corpse.
He's just sitting there with a grindstone, like.
And then he's like, drink.
Yeah, so the grinding of the gold. So, like I said a long time ago, for some reason, I went down this deep rabbit hole with this whole gold thing, and there's a certain type of gold that I guess they kind of like make now. It's called a monatomic gold. Something with, I don't know if I'm butchering the name, but it's close. And basically, it's a gold that you can it's a gold powder that you can consume. And
yeah,
it's
right.
like gold,
edible gold,
like they put it on
edible gold.
That one guy,
gold as a metal, I guess, could be, if you consume too much gold, I guess it's not good for your body. But if you take it in certain prescribed amounts, like small amounts of gold daily, it has extremely good benefits for your body. So, interestingly enough, not only what is going on?
I preemptively good.
Andrew, like, let me see that. Let me read it. And Andrew Googled edible gold benefits. and as you said, is extremely good for you. Literally, the second you said that, it came up, edible gold doesn't have any nutritional or health benefits, but it is generally safe to eat.
Okay. I'm sorry. I preemptively Googled what I thought you were going to say, and I didn't expect for it to show up.
Just look up like the benefits of gold for your body. Like,
I thought that because I've always thought of like edible gold is just a sign of extravagance. It's not like it does anything for you. It's just a sign like, look at me.
Is that
it's
the
expensive.
edible gold, dude? It's just kind of like saying like.
So gold has anti-inflammatory. It can help manage pain, regulates body temperature. It's a good conductor of heat, which can stimulate blood circulation.
How? Do you take it in a pill form? What
gold has antibacterial properties that can help clear up acne.
Dude, it's kind of like saying
colloidal gold supplements may help with a sense of calm and general well-being. Gold has been used in medicine since the 1500s. I'm sorry, Josh. I keep interrupting you.
No, you're right. You're right. In other words, there's this whole conspiracy that one of the ways that Moses and the Israelites stayed extremely healthy and in essence like very good form and all of that is by the consumption of gold. Now we are saying that Moses did this in a pit of rage and decided to. It's a weird thing to do. Just be like, yeah, I hate this. It's
kind of like making them eat their stupidity.
Yes, that's one way that we could look at it. That in other words, you're gonna eat your words, type of thing. You're gonna eat your
we're gonna look at it the other way, or that this is for your health.
I just saved your lives. Now be healthy and live long.
You're like, what?
Yes. Oh, in other words, he did this in a way of mercy, type of thing. Like,
I don't know. I was kind of angry when he did it.
It's so funny because like I had this whole thing about what this meant. I was talking to my dad about the opposite. Like what he does is he grinds the gold in the water, and what the gold does, it has no nutritional value for the body. It does nothing for you. This thing that they sacrificed their almost lives for, it helped them out. What helped them out? Not at all. What did help them? The water, which came from God. Like there's one thing that they ingested that that doesn't help them live or die, doesn't help them have any nutrition, and one that was the difference between life and death while they're in the wilderness.
Well, that's because so edible gold is a different.
I think it's different.
It's not the same as gold.
But from what I look up in my brief Google search, I don't know this.
Edible gold.
I know, but when I looked up the benefits of gold and whatnot, like Josh was saying, it wasn't from ingesting the gold. It's also like from wearing gold chain, gold bracelets, gold toe rings, on the body. It has an effect. I don't think that you get the same physical, benefits from gold by ingesting it.
I don't know what I'm supposed to say. I'm just saying like this.
I just thought it was really funny.
there's this whole like conspiracy thing of gold and the ingestion of it, and Moses being able to live and preserve his health and his life by the consumption of gold.
I don't think it was the consumption of gold.
Moses did
120.
120, which is a long time.
That's a long life, yeah, for sure.
You know, he
Joshua himself also lived a long life, and he was healthy. That's like he was like, I'm still in the strength as an old man to like fight. You know, that's famously like. But I don't think that it's from eating gold. If I had to guess, like again, I've only briefly Google searched it. I'm almost positive that I'm right, but I always think I'm right, so that's not new. That's not a good thing.
You're right. There is a common.
I'm seeing the anti-inflammatory effects and some other health effects, like, is from wearing it. You know, I've heard of that, like copper and metals on your body.
Hide up for the government to hide it's a cover up for the government to hide the actual benefits of gold. I don't know.
Gold is a precious metal because of the reason of like its attractive appearance, in its use in jewelry, its worth, its ability to conduct electricity, its apparent health benefits. You know, throughout human history, when people saw gold, they're like, I want that. So there's definitely some allure and attraction to it, a health benefit. I have never once read anything or heard of anything to say that Moses had a long life because of the ingesting of the gold. That's a little, that's new for me, you know, but again, I've never read it. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I just think so.
Yeah. Whatever you just said. Yes. I'm agreeing to it for once.
This isn't the only punishment for the sin. He doesn't just grind it. It does get a little dark next. So Moses, in his anger, after forcing them to drink the water mixed with gold, he stands famously on the side of like at the foot of the mountain and calls out, and saw that, because he says he has this moment where he sees that they're unrestrained, like they're not listening, like they're not stopping. They're continuing in their revelry and they're going crazy. And it says, for Aaron had not restrained them to their shame among their enemies. Then Moses stood at the entrance of the camp and literally stood out and said, whoever is for the Lord on his side, come to me. And it says, all the sons of Levi gathered themselves to him, and he literally said to them, thus says the Lord God of Israel.
Can I read that part?
Yeah, read verse 27 and see what God tells the Israelites to do.
Thus says the Lord God of Israel, let every man put his sword on his side and go in and out from entrance to entrance throughout camp, and let every man kill his brother, every man his companion, and every man his neighbor. That's pretty much all he said. He said to kill them all.
Yeah, and it says,
the sons of Levi did according to the word of Moses, and about 3,000 men of the people fell that day.
Yep.
Then Moses said, consecrate yourselves today to the Lord, that he may bestow on you a blessing this day, for every man has opposed his son and his brother.
Yep.
Good job. Murder.
It's funny because like after that, like that all settles. There's a bunch of dead people, and it's understood that, I mean, there's a lot of people. Why only 3,000? We're assuming that these are the people that continued in their revelment, like they didn't stop. So like the guys that were refusing to repent and refusing to like quit being fool, like they cut them down, and there was about 3,000 people. It was a good amount of people that kind of were losing their minds there. And the dust settles. Moses kind of like lets it all end. And the next day,
it might have been the actual, like the 3,000 that were committing the actual crimes. That's what I said. The guys that were continuing, and they just like probably at the root of it, you know, really digging it. Yeah. And Moses said to the people, you have created a great sin. And he literally is like, I'll go up to God and perhaps I can make atonement for your sin. Like, we're just going to see what happens. Like, I'm going to go try talking to God. Well, it's
but
the same
y'all
thing that
really
he said
messed
to Pharaoh,
up.
remember? He said the same thing to Pharaoh. Yeah, I'm going to just go see what God says, because remember, Pharaoh's like, please just go talk to your God. Take this stuff away, you know, these boils, and take these boils away. We can't handle it anymore. Mm-hmm. And then Moses goes and talks to God, and God's like, yeah, sure, fine, whatever. And he does it, and it was the locusts. The frogs? Something. Yeah. He takes one of the plagues away.
Ribbit.
Ribbit.
So what happens next? The atonement for the sin. Moses goes up to God, and he has.
He's turning the frogs gay.
No, we're not doing that.
The frogs are turning gay. It's in the water. Guess what else is in the water? Gold. Gold is in the water.
Yeah, Unchained Josh is like just wild. Unrestrained Josh.
This is the most restrained version of Josh.
This is him like really putting on a.
Dude, there's gonna be so many people commenting on this episode, being like, "Josh is a blasphemer. He thinks that God is not all knowing." I don't know why.
God is a computer programmer that made.
Which would tie in. Hey, this would tie into.
We do live in a simulation. Yeah, there you go.
That's what that new computer discovered, right?
I don't know. I have no idea.
You live in a simulation.
All right, so we're gonna kind of continue here because we're almost done here. Moses goes to the top of the mountain and he pretty much has a conversation with God and begs for forgiveness on behalf of the Israelites. And he kind of has this little 5-part conversation. Really important to note that firstly, Moses offers himself selfishly to be blotted out if God was to forgive them.
Selflessly.
Selflessly. Sorry, not selfishly.
Opposite. Man, I can't even talk. Opposite.
We're great at this.
Moses like being super selfish about it.
God bless me.
Kill them, actually.
Save me.
You know what? Go ahead. I want to be the one.
I was watching the movie Midway. Have you ever seen the movie Midway?
No,
I really want to. Is it good?
It's a great movie. But basically, at the in one of the Japanese ships is going down, and the guy's like saying, "I'm the captain of this ship, and I want to go down with this ship." And then one of the other guys is be like, "Let me also go down with the ship." And the guy's like, "Yeah, you know what? You can come with me." And then one of the other first mates or whatever, he's like, "I want to also go," and he's sobbing. It's like, "I want to also go down with the ship." And he's like, "You just go with the young men, live your life. Let me and this other guy go down with this ship." And I imagine this is also kind of.
Well, he goes to God and he's like, "You can forget." You can.
So pointless.
There's so much pointlessness in this.
Oh my God.
This was not. This was supposed to be a short episode.
Why'd you tell us that? You've seen Midday?
I don't know.
Midway? This is kind of like that. But
It's not like nothing you ever say. This is kind of like is ever like that.
That wasn't actually in the Bible. I just said he messed up with the word.
It was a good movie. Hey, it's a shout out to the movie. It's a good movie.
You took us so far away.
Josh, you have like really bad ADD. Like,
don't ever mispronounce a word again.
I'll try.
All right. I think I got to edit some of the laughing out because it's way too much.
Oh,
it's not bad. I mean, I don't mind it. I think it's funny.
I think our listeners enjoy our laugh. Anyway, Moses.
Stop.
Moses.
He said, "Please, God, don't."
I can't even.
And we got to end.
All right, listen.
We got to get into the.
God says, I love this part here because God. Moses is like, "You can forgive them, and if you don't, go ahead and blot me out with them, and take my name out of the book which was written." And God's response was awesome, in my opinion, because it's like God doesn't say, "No, hold on, wait a second." He goes, "Actually, yeah, whoever has sinned against me, I will blot him and his name out of my book. Now, therefore, go lead the people to the place which I have spoken, and my angel shall go before you. Nevertheless, the day when I visit you, I will visit punishment upon them for their sin." And it says the Lord plagued the people for what they did with the calf, which Aaron made. And what we skipped over completely here is the conversation with Aaron as well. Moses confronts Aaron and is like, "Why did you do this?" And Aaron like has this whole moment where he just does exactly what Adam does. You know, when they sin, he tries to shift the blame. He literally says that he threw the gold in an oven and it just came out as a calf. Like, he tried to shift the blame so hard that It was insane. And it's
Which
so
is just
reminiscent
nonsense.
it's so reminiscent of what happened in the garden when they fell, how Adam pointed to blame on Eve and Eve pointed to blame at the serpent. And it was like the only commandment they gave, they broke it. And, Aaron is supposed to represent the priesthood, and Adam was the original priest as well. And there's a lot there, but, a couple things happen. Some good and bad news is shared after that. God says he will in fact keep his covenant in chapter 33, verses 1-6, but he will not go up with them. He will send an angel before them, and he will drive out the people from the land. And the people are completely destroyed over this, that God's presence won't continue with them and the cloud and the fire as it was up until this point in the midst of them.
We see this same situation almost happen later on with David, or God sends an angel to go destroy Israel, and sends plagues. It's in like 2 Samuel. 2 Samuel, here. Pull it up. 2 Samuel 24:16. The judgment basically on David's sin. And basically David's like talking to God, and God's, so the Lord sent a plague upon Israel from the morning till the appointed time. From Dan to Beersheba, 70,000 men of the people died. And when the angel stretched his hand out over Jerusalem to destroy it, the Lord relented from, another relention. Relenting from the
is also like,
and said to
drew it back.
And said to the angel who was destroying the people, "Is it enough? Now restrain your hand." And the angel of the Lord was by the threshing door. Either way, so David was speaking to the angel, and
Josh, okay. I'm cutting you off. All right. I get it. Yeah. Okay. We're going to go ahead, and this is where we're going to end the story, because I don't want to rush over this next portion of like the conversation that God has with Moses and the covenant renewal. And essentially the next episode, we're going to be finished with Exodus. And we're going to begin with Leviticus, which is narrative.
Which is still Moses. Don't think we're getting away from Moses.
Moses part 6. But
Doesn't it do Deuteronomy?
Deuteronomy's. So the narrative is really going to pick up again speed back in Numbers.
I always thought it was pronounced Leviticus.
Leviticus. But
Leviticus.
Yeah, we did skip over a little bit of Aaron and his back and forth with Moses, and like, why did you do this? And he's just like, they made me do it.
It was very childish. Like Moses is looking at it like, you really think that you could have chosen a better excuse, but you just threw gold in a furnace and it came out like that.
In Aaron's defense, I mean, it sounds silly. I threw the gold in the fire and it came out a calf. But also, the sea parted and there was fire in the sky. And
I mean,
there's a lot of insane things happening. He's like, this is just another
water from a rock.
This was God, right?
It just happened. Why was I supposed to believe it wasn't? You weren't here to tell me it wasn't God.
Exactly. So
where were you?
In defense, there was a lot of craziness happening. Like,
you are right.
Like, I would probably, I'd be like, huh? God, huh? Maybe? Like, dude, what are you talking about? There's a rumor that you were floating in the sky dead.
So,
they
killed her, man.
Passage, yeah.
Dude, her is over there in pieces. So, I want to break down, because there are basically 5 different interactions that come between Moses and God in the atonement of the sin that they commit, and leads to the renewal of the covenant that they're making together. And I don't want to brush over it, because there's such incredible parts, like, God revealing himself to Moses and showing him his glory, and Moses' face shining, and the creation, the actual construction of the tabernacle, and the placement and how God is outside. So we're going to end it here with that Moses trudging back up the mountain to try to talk to God and saying, if you can forgive him if you want, that'd be great. If not, go ahead and just wipe me away too, which we know God doesn't do because Moses himself didn't sin. But that idea, that promise, and that's what lead me to my greater meaning, this statement he makes, I will punish those who sin against me and I will blot out their name. It's like this promise of like, God isn't just sweet words from Moses are just going to be like making everything okay. Because again, like we mentioned earlier, God is a righteous God and he punishes sin. What's necessary here is an atoning sacrifice, something to help atone for this sin. And God, by making that statement, it struck out to me so great because it showed that even in this horrible thing that the Israelites did and worshiping the golden calf and doing all these things, God is again still working on Moses, working on his people, instilling and subliminally pushing this idea that they are in need of a savior, that they are not going to be able to make it on their own. Yeah, sin, I'm going to. Best believe I'm going to punish that. Like I'm not just letting it slide. Like God is going to be just and punish what needs to be punished. The only thing that can deliver us from that was the sacrifice of Jesus that will come later on. So the greater meaning for me in the story of the golden calf is that even in these stupidest moments that we have in our life, when it's like God couldn't have been more clear and we still mess up, God's grace is still there. And even in those moments, the Bible tells us that while we were still sinners, Jesus came and died for us. That doesn't give us, agency to be able to just do whatever we want and sin and oh, God, forgive me because I'll do whatever I want. Because it's that you're not gonna make God, a joke. And that's what another way of like what I believe, and I think we talked about carrying God's name and not to to break another of the commandments. People use the "thou shalt not take the Lord's name in vain." That idea of like, oh, just don't say Jesus or don't use God casually in conversation or to swear. When you walk and say, I'm going to follow Christ, and you walk and say, I'm going to be a child of God, and you don't uphold the reputation, why should the Egyptians say that this, or why should they say that? You are carrying a name on you and you need to represent God. Not representing God when you claim to be a Christian also is taking the Lord's name in vain, alongside with idols and these other things. So that is my greater meaning. Josh?
My greater meaning is basically with Aaron. When he's down and God puts him in charge of being with Israel, of making sure everything goes to plan, just taking care of the flock, taking care of the sheep. And then they get scared and they go to him, and what does he do? He gets scared basically with them and falls into a lie, something that they all knew was not real, but for the ease of mind, to solve this temporary problem, what they do is they create a temporary fix. And that's what we do in our lives constantly. We have this temporary problem and we know that the answer to it is God, but what we do is we go away from God and we look for these temporary fixes that we can appoint and put it in front and say, yeah, that's what solved my problem. The doctor solved my issue. The finances solved my financial problems. All these things that we put in front and we basically put before God and say that these are the things that solved my problems, where at the end of the day, it's God that solves these problems. So that's my greater meaning.
So reliance on God instead of trying to make artificial replacements for the source of the issues in your life.
Yeah, reliance on God and not falling into fear. And because fear is one of the greatest uses of the enemy. When you fall into fear, you end up doing things that you shouldn't do.
Mm-hmm. You're absolutely right. Yeah, that's great. Nathan?
So my greater meaning, I'm going to kind of take a step back and kind of look at an overarching theme. I'm not going to. So the Israel, or the people of Israel, or whatever. What do you call them right now?
The people of Israel.
Israel. They call them
Israelites.
Israel right
The
now.
Israelites.
They've witnessed so many miracles. They've seen so many wondrous things that God did for them. And within 40 days, they just completely abandoned all belief and everything. And they just went back to being idol worshipers and just living in sin. And my point is this, that, and this is coming from somebody I've seen in my life. God has done many miracles in my life when I was young, when I was a young man, now that I'm an older guy. And you know what? I never truly turned to God till I got a little older in my life. I actually gave my life to Christ, but I saw miracles in my life that God performed at a young age, you know, and don't ever rely. If you're trying to rely on a miracle because you're praying for a miracle and God does it for you, and you're saying that miracle is going to be that point where from now on I'm going to be a Christian, it's never going to work for you, bud. It's never going to work for you. To have faith takes work. Being a Christian takes discipline. Don't try to rely on a miracle to supplant your responsibility to seek the Lord every day, to read the Bible, to listen to God's commands. Don't try to rely on the fact that God, because God will perform miracles and God will open doors for you. God will bless you in your life, but that's not like, okay, God blessed me or God healed me. I'm good now and I'm good forever because God healed me and I'm forgiven. No, you still need to start walking with the Lord. And to walk with the Lord, it's hard. It truly is. For me, it's the hardest thing for me to do in my life is to be an actual Christian, not just a Christian that I say and that I show people that I'm a Christian, but a Christian when nobody's around, when it's just me by myself Christian. Somebody that seeks the Lord when nobody knows but me and the Lord that I'm seeking the Lord. That's the biggest struggle of my life. And this is coming from a person that God has healed me physically. I've used to have significant health issues that God healed me from. And I still am not Mr. Firm Believer and jumping up and down for Christ. When Jesus healed a lot of people in the New Testament, wouldn't he always say, go and sin no more? He would give them kind of an instruction. You have to sin no more after that miracle has happened. And look at the Israelites. All these miracles happened to them, but it's in their nature. They continue to sin. They continued to sin. And what was God's reaction? He wanted to blot them out of existence. Because in reality, that just goes to show you, if God performed a miracle in your life and you just never change, you're not going to be saved. It's not going to happen for you. Because at the end of the day, the only way for you to gain your salvation, you have to repent of the sin. God forgives you of the sin. But if you never repent, God can untie those chains, but if you never take them off, God will break the chains, but you got to take the chains off your shoulders. You got to take them off. And if you don't, oh man, it's such a bad time for you. It's so bad. And another point, and a very small point I want to give, if you're going to pray for something, pray that God teaches you how to pray, that gives you the wisdom on how to approach the Lord and ask for forgiveness, like Moses prayed. Because that is much more valuable for you in your day-to-day walk with the Lord, to have the wisdom on how to talk to the Lord than anything else you could think of. And that's my greater meaning.
Dude, there you have it.
I like that a lot, especially with, what you say?
Josh, you need to go to sleep, bud.
No. You said something.
Man, I love that. Man. That thing. What did you say again? It's all right, guys.
You know, sometimes I don't even know what I'm saying. It's just coming out. And then somebody tells me, hey, you said that? I was like, right, I said that? That's actually pretty dope.
Yeah. I
wish I would listen to myself.
Well, apparently that wasn't one of those moments because it wasn't very impactful for Josh.
No, it was. It was. That's why I had something to say. Then
no, you're good.
My brain.
There you have it. That is the Golden Calf episode Moses Part 5. Join us next time as we continue with the story of Moses' intercession for the Israelites, his communication and revelation that God will give him, and the renewal of this covenant that they very shortly had that already broke. But God, in his mercy and his divine plan, is going to keep to his covenant and his word as he does. Thank you, all those that listen. Thank you for all the wonderful support we've received so far, man. It's awesome to hear from you guys and get all the feedback. Follow us on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, everywhere you can find us.
We might actually have merch.
We probably are really going to have merch this time.
Which is crazy.
Who wants a sticker?
Apparently it was going to be stickers.
I want a sticker.
I would take a sticker. I
don't even know.
Easy gateway.
The last time somebody gave me a sticker was your daughter. Andrew.
Oh my God. She loves giving stickers. Like, it's one of her favorite things to do. Just give people stickers. But yeah, like, share, subscribe, give us that 5-star review, share us with your friends and your families. If you like what you hear and you want to support us, that's the best thing you can do. Follow us on all platforms. My name is Andrew, and I would love to see you guys next time. Nathan, I don't know why I'm introducing the episode. Yo,
good night, guys.
Good afternoon,
or good
morning.
Good morning.
Either
good
way,
night, whatever.
This was a great episode. Love doing it. My name is Josh.
This is a big one.
Hey, I just want to say my name is Nathan.
And that's Josh.
Woo! Okay. Bye.
Goodbye, everybody.